Well, to take us through what has transpired and perhaps what to expect, we're joined now by Senator George Akume, who is a former minority leader and a member of the APC. Thank you for coming on this morning, Senator. Well, in terms of the build-up and expectations that people had about the screening, particularly for those who thought, okay, it wasn't going to be business as usual, what did you think of that expectation?
Well, I thank you so much for this invitation. Expectations were hard because first there was a misconception about the time for submission of the list of ministers to the Senate. But again, you look at the fact that someone has a mandate for 4 years and you want to judge on the basis of just about 3 months, and that translates into nothing if you look at the whole situation. So expectations were high. The list came. These Nigerians that all of you know, and as the Senate did say, that it wasn't going to be business as usual. I thought, perhaps rightly or wrongly, that we did what Nigerian people wanted us to do. The Senate is not expected to be a guillotine. We're expected to take you on what we see in your CVs, and if there are petitions, we also refer these petitions to relevant committee. And at the end of the day, we decide to combine whatever information we have, and asking you questions. We are guided by certain criteria set out in the Constitution itself. Are you a Nigerian? How old are you? And so on. So these are basic things we have. And of course, the code of conduct submission is very, very important, especially now that Nigerians are asking for accountability, because the party in government was on board essentially because of commitment to the Nigerian people on the issue of transparency and accountability in government. And so I thought that we were really guided properly in asking questions. And I also believe we were satisfied that the nominees met our own standards. And so unless there are other areas...
What were those standards? As stipulated in the Constitution only?
Stipulated in the Constitution, and as I said, and of course where we had petitions. These petitions will also be referred to relevant committee for consideration.
Pardon me to butt in, so that I don't lose that train of thought. How many petitions are we talking about here? Well,
we had a petition from senators from Kaduna State. Senator wrote against Amina Mohammed that she wasn't an indigene of Kaduna State. The Constitution clearly spells out this, that you must be an indigene of your state. But the people of Gombe wrote that Amina is an indigene of Gombe State, and they owned her up completely, and they supported her. And so in asking these questions, we also go outside of what you have submitted. We ask questions relating to what we perceive will be your ministerial responsibility. Unfortunately, in this country, unlike America and other presidential democracies, ministries are not assigned to nominees. So we continue to conjecture. For example, if we see you have a background in the oil industry, we try to take you on in that area. And if you're a legal person, we try to move to that direction. But we also know that as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you should be able to function in whatever ministry is assigned to you by Mr. President. That is why most cases our questions are also general.
If you look at it, I'm excited when you say you're satisfied, but more excited so because you're a member of the ruling APC. Looking at this list, some would say we have dropped the ball in terms of having an inclusive kind of cabinet, especially when you look towards the number of women that should make the lists and the number of young people. When the first batch came, we thought that the second batch was going to fix that anomaly. It doesn't seem so.
Well, usually at the end of presidential elections, the president-elect is saddled with a very huge responsibility, and he has to contend with appointing technocrats and of course appointing politicians who work for him, who traveled with him up and down during the campaigns. And so he also wants to try to strike a balance between the two contending groups. It's always been a problem, not just in this country, in the United States too. And if you look at the first list, these are very seasoned Nigerians, and whether you're talking about Awudo from Benue State, it's not really that he was screened by Dr. Olusola Saraki. It's really like Bill Clinton and said during their campaigns against these top guys. I've forgotten the name now. But it's not, really, it's not the age of your, it's not your physical age, but the age of your ideas. If you are 70 years and your ideas are sharp and they're focused and are intended to move our society forward, we should be able to use you. And if you look at Udo Udoma, one of the finest you can get in any society, he's very well trained, he's a man of honesty, and his competency levels are immeasurable, and yet a very humble man, just like his father was a justice of the Supreme Court. These are people, you go to the young ones who are engineers from Jigawa, these are young people. Whether you're talking about Amina, you're talking about Senator Hassan, you're talking about Miss Ade Oshun, and you're talking about Jibrin Usman from Nasarawa, you're talking about Lalo. It's a mixed kind of thing. You have the young and the more mature. But again, I believe this is a good mix. The only thing you said, which I think is very relevant, is the fact that we don't have so many women there. So far, I think there are 3, or I don't know whether subsequent list it will move up again. But these are not only the positions you have in government. Others are coming on board, special advisors, ambassadors, and DGs, heads of extra ministerial departments and parastatals, and so on and so forth. And really, if you look at some of these parastatals and government companies, that is sometimes where it really takes place. They can add value to the overall direction of government. We agree that the Federal Executive Council will always do what sets the policy, and then implementation will come down. And you look at the permanent secretaries we have, they're very trained people, careerists, who know the job and are committed to the implementation of government policies. And I think this is why John Buhari was speaking one day, and he said, well, he didn't actually mean these ministers not making. I think it was just a very casual remark. But he says that this means, as far as I'm concerned, that in a typical ministry, you have the minister who is the chief executive of that ministry, you have the permanent secretary who is the accounting officer and the career head, and combining under some other directors, they should drive the affairs of that ministry. So I think that so far so good. I have not seen anything adverse about these nominees, whether you listen to some of them, whether it is Fire Me, whether it is Fashula, whether it is Udo Udoma, Awudu Ogbe, Onu, Ngige, Aisha,
former governors, former senators,
former everything, and not really former this, former that, but
so I'm saying ministerial governors now.
No, but how many ministers do we have in this country? The Constitution says 36, 1 per state, to take care of our diversity. And I think this is also in tandem with what you have in the United States, when you have even redistricting for purpose of representation. And of course you have affirmative action. But here, as I'm saying, 36, out of 36, how many former governors are there? How many former senators are there? Mm-hmm. And so by and large, former governors are also part of the system. just like senators. And this is not, what about Clinton? Mrs. Clinton, she became the #3 man in the cabinet of Obama. Obama himself, former senator. So actually, it's nothing new we're doing, but the preponderance of people who come in, they're outside of this categoric schema you are talking about. Senators and governors, no.